Hey you guys, this is Miss Morell. I thought I'd make you a quick little video or audio track of the answers to the warm-up questions in case you didn't get the material in class or you were absent or you couldn't hear. So number one asks which organism has two characteristics that all living things have, and that was organism X because organism X reproduces and grows. And all living things do those two things plus five more things. So answer to number one was B, organism X. Number two, a student is making a graphic organizer to help him study properties of living organisms. Which activity correctly completes the graphic organizer? So the graphic organizer says activities performed by all living organisms. And it gives you three things and wants you to fill in the fourth. So let's look at our choices. A, consume and digest food. Well, not everything consumes its food. Autotrophs don't. They produce their food, so it can't be A. B, perform meiosis and fertilization. Nope, meiosis is when sex cells called gametes, that would be egg and sperm, divide and make more of them. And obviously, organisms that reproduce asexually don't do that. So that's not all organisms. D, absorb light and conduct photosynthesis. Obviously, that's only plants because photosynthesis is how plants make food. So that leaves answer choice B, break down and build molecules. And that would be metabolism, part of the digestion process. So the answer to number two is C, break down and build molecules. Number three, the picture below shows a paramecium. In which kingdom is the paramecium classified? Well, this is super easy. Look at the paramecium. What do you recognize from our four characteristics that we use to classify things? Very first thing I notice is that it has a nucleus. That means that it's eukarya. It's eukaryotic. So that means it has to be either animalia, plant, fungi, or protista. This is also a single-celled organism because there's only one nucleus. So none of these other things, animal, plant, and fungi, are single-celled. So that means it has to be D, a protista. So the answer to number three is D, protista. Number four, which of these organisms shown below is not correctly labeled with its kingdom? A, that is DNA floating in there, which means that this is a prokaryotic organism, which bacteria is. So that's correct. It's in bacteria. B, there's your nucleus. There's your single-celled organism. We just said in the previous question, that's a protista. But C, last time I checked, decomposers, mushrooms were not plants, they are fungi. And of course, a spider is an animal. So the correct answer is C. Mushrooms are not plants. And then finally, number five, all organisms classified in kingdom Animalia must also be classified as which of the following? So if they're in kingdom Animalia, we know that Animalia is under domain Eukaryota. Animalian is not under archaea. It's not under bacteria. Protista is another kingdom. So it has to be eukaryote. So those are the first five questions. Here come the second five questions. Which statement is true of all living things? Well, they don't all make their own food because they're heterotrophs. They don't all need carbon dioxide to survive. Animals need oxygen. Some of them are not able to move from place to place, but they are made of cells. Every living thing is made of cells. So the answer to second day warm-ups number one is C. They are made of basic units called cells. Number two, refer to the diagram below of the single-celled eukaryotic organisms to answer the following questions. Euglena and paramecium are eukaryotes because why? The definition you are both eukaryotes. Why? The definition of a eukaryote is that it has a nucleus. So if they are eukaryotes, they both have a nucleus. So the answer to number 2 is A. Number 3, Kate is using the key shown below to classify a tree into one of 4 different groups. So here's her classification. Does the tree lose its leaves in winter? So go down to the question and it says the tree loses its leaves in winter. So yes. What is the bark texture? And the question tells us that it has rough bark. So you go over here to rough. And which group should she classify that tree into? And it would be group 2. So question number 3 is B, group 2. Question number 4. The following diagram shows a caterpillar, mold, and a fern. What do these organisms have in common? Again, all organisms are made of cells. Not all organisms produce their food. Not all organisms are decomposers. And not all organisms cause disease. But they are all made of cells. So the answer to number 4 is A. They are made of cells. And number 5, which of the following ways does a bacterial cell differ from an animal cell? A bacterial cell is much larger than an animal cell. Well, no, not necessarily. A bacterial cell has more mitochondria than an animal cell. No, not necessarily. A bacterial cell has RNA for its genetic material, whereas an animal cell does not. Nope, animal cells have DNA. Or D, a bacterial cell does not have membrane-bound organelles, whereas an animal cell does. That membrane-bound organelles part means that it's prokaryotic. So it's saying that a bacterial cell is prokaryotic and an animal cell is eukaryotic. And that is the correct answer. The correct answer to number 5 is D. A bacterial cell does not have a membrane-bound organelles, whereas an animal cell does. All right, hope this helps you with your homework this week.